underwater, flood warnings across central Indiana, schools closed, and the power's out.
The roadways are going to be our biggest concern all night.
There's just water everywhere.
But when it's just raining like this, just slow down, be more observant.
We're still looking at about another inch of rain over the next 24 hours.
It's already causing some major road hazards.
This is an example of just how extreme and how dangerous some of these flooding conditions can be.
We already have one car that slid off into a field.
Yeah, a lot of wind and rain and roads that have signs like this. We're talking about 20 roads still closed right now.
If you see those road closed signs, if you see any flooding areas, turn around, find a different route. Keep everybody safe this morning.
There are certain moments in life that deserve a second go-round.
How are you?
Good, really good.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much.
For the IMS paramedics at Firehouse 17, this reunion is one of them.
Oh, wow, look how small she is.
Last month, Kevin Lloyd and his partner were on their way back from a previous run, heading back to the firehouse to continue their shift. They noticed a car in their parking lot. At first, they thought nothing of it.
And the alarm on our computer rang out and said LB childbirth, 7139 East 75th Street at Station 17.
Turns out Bree and John Saffin were in that car, and baby Zoe was on her way.
And so we pulled in, and then I was like, no, we can make it. And he's like, no, the ambulance is right there.
You said you have to push, so we're stopping.
The Saffins decided they couldn't make it, and it only took a moment for the paramedics to realize they wouldn't be able to either.
Once we noticed that, we took a look and we noticed that baby was coming, that baby was coming. So and there was no stopping it.
So in the back of the parking lot, in the back of this ambulance, Kevin Lloyd experienced something he hadn't before.
I've been doing this for quite some time, and actually that's my first live, first birth.
Proving it's never too late to try something new.
It's unbelievable. It's remarkable. You remember telling me, they said, "Don't touch me." Don't touch me. I was like, well, we gotta do something.
For this family, it's a unique chapter in the story of how little Zoe Saffin came to be.
Every time we drive by, the fire station will have new meaning.
But for the crew working that night at Firehouse 17.
So, everything just seemed to work out just so perfect. It was just picture perfect. Couldn't ask for a better run.
It's a reminder of how quickly things can take a turn, this time for the better.
This was great. It was, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that first cry when the baby was born. I won't forget this day when, I was able to reunite with her and the family.
For Fox 59, I'm Nick McGill.
Al Woods comes from Jennings, Louisiana, and he stays true to his roots. Woods is a second-generation cattleman. We're talking about 300 head of cattle and 90 horses. He tends to his farm in off-season, herding cattle, growing rice, and baling hay. Bruno Mars, that's what Woods likes to listen to off the field. And pizza, that's what he likes to eat. It's his favorite food. His hobbies outside football include hunting, fishing, and playing on the slip and slide with his kids.
He was like, take the leg. I can go back to combat with a lower prosthesis.
War abroad.
They are bred to hate us, and it's going to take a long time. The Taliban has told them that we grind up babies to make shampoo.
And service at home. They're willing to give all. Army Reservist Captain Sanjeev Neal, Army National Guard Master Sergeant Tom Farrington, Sergeant Jason Garner, Air Force Reserve.
I think the three of us signed up for a short period of time and then quickly realized that this is who we are and where we were meant to be.
Pride and love of country put them on the battlefields of Iraq, each deployed multiple times, all witnesses to the cost of war.
2011, one of the helicopters was shot down and over 30 troops was killed.
One of the deadliest single attacks for American troops in nearly 10 years of war in Afghanistan.
The helicopter blew up, everybody burned up. So we had to send soldiers out to clean up the remains of those fallen troops. But it was a real dark day
Hardest day for us would have been a big, massive IED blast in Iraq. I think by the time it was done, we had transported 63 people.
They've lost friends, missed home, yet they've chosen a second life of sacrifice and a different uniform.
There's not a single day that I wake up and say, I don't want to go to the firehouse.
Where they all suit up for the Indianapolis Fire Department, from firefights to fighting fires.
We were on a grain elevator fire, and it was just super hot. I overheated myself fighting the fire, but I just kept thinking, you know, this could be it.
I would say hardest day would be I went through a floor on a fire and ended up in the basement.
For them, to live is to serve, knowing some don't survive.
You know, I've looked back and realized I've served with some guys that have since passed from suicide or combat and, you know, cancer on the fire department and things like that. And it does hurt. It leaves a little black spot, but I've been very, very fortunate to have not lost the guy next to me.
When you ask them how and why they do it, they point to their comrades in camo and their buddies in turnout gear.
They care about you, and they care about your family and what's going on in your life. And you can't put a dollar amount on that.
Linebacker 2, that's my dad's last mission that he was involved with.
5 days before Christmas 1972, Joe Stewart remembers not for holiday cheer.
We came home, my mother and 2 other siblings. One sister comes running to the door, said, "Mom, there's some Air Force men in the house."
Joe's dad, Lieutenant Colonel John Stewart, was the message they delivered. A message all too familiar at that point in the Vietnam War.
He said that he was missing. His plane was shot down over Vietnam, over Hanoi.
Like families nationwide during that time, the Stewarts lived through the agony of speculations, questions, and sometimes just the imagination of what actually happened to the B-52 carrying the crew of 6, including Lieutenant Colonel Stewart. Eventually, the U.S. determined the B-52 burst into flames. Heavy enemy fire was reported that day, but 2 crew members did survive and were held as POW. Lieutenant Colonel Stewart didn't, and today his case is still listed as missing in action, body not recovered.
He had a very lengthy military service, a very honorable record in the military. It's something that should be honored and respected for what he did.
Last year, Joe took that message to Washington, pushing federal officials to keep investigating. Like many, the Stewarts still want any sense of closure possible.
They're going to go back as I'm told, again this year and do another on-site investigation. And then we're thinking that we know where the tail section of my dad's aircraft could have went to, because the way it was hit by 3 surface-to-air missiles.
Joe is also working with Arlington National Cemetery, pushing for a memorial with full honors for his dad, despite no body or remains. The hope is, while the Stewarts will never forget the sacrifice of Lieutenant Colonel John Stewart, the nation won't either.
Lots of us out there, sons and daughters, who remember our fathers from old wars, you know, and just trying to bring them back home and whatever we can, but we won't forget them.
A new lawsuit against the Indianapolis police officers who killed a man.
We now have a date for that federal civil trial. This is in March of 2019, and this is a jury trial.
A push to reduce gun violence expands.
The Indy 10-Point Coalition hopes to reach out to these boys, girls, and teens.
Indiana-born drivers ready for a new race.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
My name is Connor Daly, and I am an IndyCar driver.
Making wishes come true.
No better place to be than ZPL this morning if you want to change someone's life.
You're in Constantine. How's it going?
Good.
I'm ready. Oh, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
Rick Bogg is back playing tennis at Carmel High School, but the last couple of years, he couldn't give it his all. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
I had to leave practice a lot. I couldn't come to practice a lot. And even when I was in practice, I couldn't give 100% because of fatigue, because of cramps, because of nauseousness, whatever it might be.
Rick is 16 and an academic top scholar at Carmel High School. He plays tuba along with tennis. So when he got the diagnosis, he and his family were shocked.
As a family, we were really stunned.
Our 2 kids are at the center of our universe. Everything we do are for them. So yes, it has turned our world quite upside down.
One of the first things Anu, Rick's mother, did was change her cooking to reduce Rick's chances for a flare-up.
So one thing that I really used to eat is spicy food. And I really used to love spicy food, but now I have to stay away from that. Like, it's poisonous to me now.
The family changed work and vacation schedules while Rick cycled through several medications trying to calm the Crohn's. Support groups helped the family and Rick begin to talk about it.
Many times teenagers, it's very difficult for them to get the disease diagnosed in times because they keep it a secret. Whole digestive issues like gross for them.
Rick is not afraid to tell his story anymore. In fact, he's expected to raise $5,000 this year alone to find better treatments and maybe someday a cure.
I really feel that doing this will help a lot of people in what they're suffering through.
We need a cure. We absolutely need a cure.
I can honestly say morning and evening routines are probably the #1 thing that once school starts that parents come in.
Child psychologist Jessica Hood says this time of year is a busy one in her office. Moms and dads stressing out, trying to nail down an efficient routine. You're not alone.
Right. It is mad chaos.
Hood says first things first, start reeling in your kids' bedtime.
Starting to ease that bedtime back 15 minutes, 30 minutes.
Start doing that now and make sure they're getting at least 8 hours of sleep a night. Otherwise,
they just don't behave wonderfully and they're grouchy just like we are when we have to wake up in the morning for something we don't want to go do.
Once everyone is up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you'll want to do a dry run.
See how long it's going to take to get the lunchbox and the backpack and get all of their papers and get their shoes on and their coats on and get to the bus stop, and so that we're not frantically rushing around.
Pretend it's the real deal. If you're going to take your kids to school, drive the route. See which way is the quickest.
Develop a structure and a routine that works for their family, and that's going to look different for every family out there.
Now here's where the word plan comes into play. Plan to either be consistent with a routine that works or plan for possible failure and change. Again, have comfort knowing you are not the only one going through this.
It's probably never going to be perfect. It's not going to be like, oh, our mornings are peaceful and smooth. I haven't met any parents yet who describe it that way.
I'm not sure. I think it's a bunch of techies or gamers or something like that.
Kind of like Comic-Con, I'm gonna guess.
What do you think Gen Con is?
I don't know.
So here's what Gen Con really is. It's the largest gaming convention in North America. People from all over the world come together for around-the-clock gaming. Everything from trading card games, video and computer games, to those tabletop games, and so much more. But the question remains, where does the name Gen Con even come from?
Is it like Gen X? Gen Con? New generation of, I don't know, culture?
Gen Con. Maybe it's when the power company tries to con you into using their services. I don't know. I don't know.
Gen Con is actually a shortened version of the event's original name, the Lake Geneva Wargaming Convention. This larger-than-life convention actually started out as a small gathering in Geneva, Wisconsin in the late 1960s. What do you think Gen Con is?
Magical people.